little more
Yeah, and Jason once again talks through the
to
into
the
the intro.
intro.
This is kind of a thing
I
at
need
this point.
music. I need
I
music.
even gave a 3, 2, 1 countdown. Um, yeah, and then it has no merit for Mr. Hill here. Visor today.
A la Mark Richt.
Yeah, it's a visor kind of day. Apparently, we are going to be talking about 49ers Chiefs, Jason, and this is actually the first conversation on this channel about 49ers versus Chiefs because me and you are both a part of a wedding. We took part in a wedding
Yes.
on Sunday. Alex got married. Me and you were there, so we had to play catch up on watching the game. We didn't get to see the whole game in its entirety, that's for sure. And I'm kind of glad about that we didn't see it at first. But going back through it, it was not fun, especially when you know that they lost and that they struggled down the stretch. And
Yeah.
so we'll get into some of the Chiefs, of course, 49ers versus Chiefs, and have that conversation, and then also turn it over to the Rams at some point during the episode. Start looking ahead because if the 49ers get a win over the Los Angeles Rams and go to 4-4 with 3-0 in the division, I still feel really good about them going into the bye, which is it's sad to say, but 4-4 would be an improvement over last year's 3-5.
It is. If 4-4 and more importantly, even than the 3-0, I think is the 2-0 versus the Rams.
Right.
That basically puts us 3 games up on them.
That puts a huge buffer between you and the Rams. You have a victory over the Seahawks too, who are one of the best in the division.
Playing really well,
shockingly.
Yeah.
So if you play the Seahawks again, if you were to win that and go 2 over them, you have opportunities to win through your division, and I think that is at least good news for the 49ers and something we can continue to hang our hat on even when there's tough losses like this.
Yeah, it was something. I mean, like we were saying at Buffalo Wild Wings, get in the damn end zone.
Yeah, you can't play field goals against the Chiefs.
That game is entirely different if instead of being 13-7, it's 21-7.
Yeah,
it takes a whole different context. It probably changes Andy's play calling a little bit. It's just bad.
There's also, mistakes that the 49ers make that lose scoring opportunities that are even worse than kicking field goals over touchdowns, including Jalen Moore jumping off sides, which could have went the 49ers' way after the fumble on the punt return. However, Jimmy Garoppolo also turned over the football.
He threw a 5-yard Hail Mary.
Yeah, it was not. It was not ideal. It was not fun to watch. It was very frustrating. And let's talk about what else was frustrating though, because
I think I've seen you with such a disdainful look on your face, and right after that picking a long time.
Well, because
you were just mesmerized by the idiocy of that throw.
Well, I was very frustrated because your Jimmy Garoppolo is a veteran in this league. He understands that situation. Yeah, he's getting pressure into his face, and I'm not even going to talk about Jeff Wilson Jr. I don't think that was the read. I don't think he was the guy that he was supposed to go to, even though Wilson Jr. was open. I think Jimmy he was under pressure. He needed to get rid of the football, but those are those ones you throw out of the end zone. You live to fight another day. You kick the field goal, and you walk away with 3. Yeah, you don't want field goals, but turnovers are worse, and that's why it was a little frustrating for me, at least.
It certainly was. It was one of those old Jimmy throws where you're like, oh man, that was like freaking back in the day where it's just throw it up there and hope something good happens.
Yeah, I mean, and let's talk about another thing that was a little bit frustrating was 49ers defense. The 49ers defense, I mean, we knew it was a tough task going against this Kansas City Chiefs team. And the Chiefs did a very good job of taking advantage of what the 49ers were giving them. Early on, the 49ers defense made plays. Talanoa Hufanga with the interception off Tayshaun Gibson, and they got after Mahomes a little bit. But after that, it was just like scoring.
Third down, first down. It didn't matter.
Yeah, and we know they're one of the best on third down in the league. The Kansas City Chiefs were. The Niners are one of the best on getting teams off the field on third down. Something had to give, and it did. It was the 49ers defense that gave, and they really took advantage of, they beat Charvarius Ward. They targeted him 6 times. There were 6 completions. They targeted on Jimmy Ward 6 times. There were 6 completions. So the Wards it wasn't a lockdown ward against Kansas City.
It was an open ward.
Yeah, and Jason, I want to know how you feel about Charvarius, but I believe that their knowledge of his game is
exactly
what definitely got it going, because he likes to play on top of wide receivers, lots of back shoulders, and then when he finally switched it up, they hit him over the top.
Yeah.
It was frustrating, but what do you feel about this 49ers defense? I know I don't want to put all of it into one game because They've had 2 struggles over the last couple weeks in different manners. Do you think this is a trend, or is this just a bump in the road?
It's it, it it's a bump. It's a little more than a bump because until Armstead is back, that's a big hole. In the games he's played this year, they're allowing like 64 yards a game on the ground. In the games he's missed, it's like 130. Like it's a huge jump. Now some of that too is a little better team and stuff, but still, when we can neutralize the run game and make teams one dimensional, then it really helps. So I think that's a big thing is we need Armstead back as soon as possible. I don't think he's going to play this week, so hopefully he's back for Arizona game and Chargers games too, because those teams like to run the ball. So
Yeah, playing the Rams, you might not need him. It'll give you extra time. We know he played about half of the first Rams game. It'll give him extra time to get healthy. The way Andy Reid attacked the run game early in the football game was pretty smart. He used McCole Hardman to get on the edge.
Yep.
And McCole Hardman made it difficult for the 49ers, secondary players to be able to come up and fill in those situations. It was a good game plan by him. And do you expect anything else? No. But then he was able to get his run game going off of that. That's when Clyde Edwards-Helaire came in and he got his runs, and Jerick McKinnon got a couple of nice runs as well. So they did a very good job of establishing the outside run with McCole Hardman on the sweeps, and also just Patrick Mahomes doing Patrick Mahomes things and getting the ball to Travis Kelce. It was interesting that the numbers for George Kittle and Travis Kelce ended up being identical at one point. Six catches, 98 yards. That's pretty ridiculous.
And that include a big drop from Kittle too. But I see. I just think that we saw on Sunday why Andy Reid is one of the top 10 coaches of all time. I feel like he ran circles around D'Amico and Kyle, which is not a knock on those two. Like Andy's been good for 20 years at what he does, and I happened to catch something on the radio, and they were talking to a guy from KC. He goes back to like random like teams and playbooks from the 40s, and like we'll try and add a little bit to that, and then mix it in with Hardman and Kelce, Mahomes, and it was actually really amazing just how much he will try and find something to that he can use from like a wing tee even. Like
we saw it in the Super Bowl in
amazing.
2019.
Yeah.
He ran some single wing type stuff. They did the twist, the turns. That's smart, right? Using every element of offense, to your disposal. I mean, the 49ers defense, they have a lot of things that they have to pay attention to when you're playing the Chiefs. And D'Amico came out with a game plan. They tried to run man up. They tried to, play these receivers and press them. And it felt like once Andy Reid figured out what they were doing, he was able to kind of like make the necessary adjustments. So I think the 49ers, you'll go back to the drawing board. The good news is only way you see the Kansas City Chiefs again is if it's in the Super Bowl. And you can come up with a really good game plan because now you've seen how they attacked you. Usually it's tougher to play against them, the other team the second time.
That being said, I'm still not sure I want to see KC in February though.
No, I don't either.
I think I'd rather see even the Bills even.
Yeah, I'd rather see the Bills as well, because Patrick Mahomes has been on that stage before, and Andy Reid knows how to win those games. You're right. I'm with you on that. I don't want to see that. I think I do want to say before we move on to another topic, I don't think this is the 49ers defense we're going to see for the whole year. I think they've had a couple of bad games.
One-off.
I think what'll happen is now they'll get back to it. Here come the Rams. Here comes a familiar opponent, and they'll be able to get into it and
no
get
Cam
after
Akers.
it. Yeah, exactly.
Too.
No Cam Akers. And so let's talk about the 49ers offense, because the 49ers offense, it was interesting. It was so exciting during the first half. Every time Christian McCaffrey came into the game, it's like,
oh, buzz.
Here we go. Here we go.
Feel it through the damn TV.
You could. And, that first
crazy.
drive, they were rolling. They got the run game going. Jeff Wilson Jr., Christian McCaffrey. They were switching them in and out. Like, they were making things happen. And then next thing you know, it's like the offense kind of slowed for a while.
Once again, when we get off the script. But now, here's something that really, really concerns me about the offense going forward. If you take out the picks, sixes, and the Panther game, okay, even with the 10 points or something that they scored against KC in the third quarter, They're averaging 1.8 points so far in the third quarter.
Yeah.
And that concerns me a little bit because Kyle's not adjusting to what the teams are doing coming out of halftime. It's off script. There's something there. I mean, as a whole, they're averaging just under 18 a game if you take out the Carolina game. And that includes the game with the Seahawks too. So the offense is not there. Like it's and in that second half especially, we've seen all year long, it's bad. And another thing I saw when entering the fourth quarter with Kyle, if we're down by 3 or more, he's 1 in 30.
Yeah. I mean, the offensive second half struggles have been a real thing. They are a real thing. That's something they're going to have to fix. The thing is it's the first half of the season, so they do have an opportunity to fix it, but it is now becoming glaring. Now it's more glaring in this game because you have to score the entire game to be able to keep up with an offense like Kansas City, and you may have to do the same thing against the Buffalo Bills if you were to play them in a championship.
The Chargers even too.
The good news is they play in the NFC where everyone has struggles on offense. Tampa Bay struggles to score. The Rams struggle to score at times. So I think that's the good news for the 49ers as far as where they play. But if you're going to be a championship team, you need to be able to play offense consistently for 4 quarters. They haven't found it there. They've played a few games defensively where all 4 quarters have been good, but they've yet to do that on offense. They've yet to do that on special teams. And those are things they're going to have to fix moving forward, or they're not going to be a team that can be considered a championship team.
True. And it's frustrating because you and I are so accustomed to Niners offense being really good.
Well, I think anyone that grew up in the 80s and 90s, right, they're used to 49ers offense driving games, but 49ers defenses were really good back then too. And I think
they're just not efficient. They're
no,
really not. Part of it's the O-line, part of it. Something else I heard from someone was guy's a college coach or something, and he said from what he's seen, Kyle's not stacking plays in a good sequence. What do you think?
Are you talking about in the second half or in the first half?
In the second half, he said as soon as you usually middle second through the third when they're off script, the play, and we saw this. Andy, he'll call plays in the first half to set up stuff in the second half. So is Kyle not doing that, or is the execution off?
Oh, the execution's definitely off. I mean, anytime that it got to third down, Mike McGlinchey got bowled over by Chris Jones.
God, that was bad.
So I don't know how you account for that other than the fact that the next time you play them, you have to chip, or you have to give help, or you have to make an adjustment that way. I think you would like for in-game adjustments, but when you put together a plan and you believe that Trent Williams and Mike McGlinchey are going to be able to handle their players, because Clark hasn't been great this year.
No, he hasn't.
Karlaftis hasn't been great this year. So you're thinking, we can handle them on the edge. And then you don't. You can either do 2 things: adjust on the fly, or you try to hope that those players can get it done. And that's what we've seen some. Now, does Kyle at times go through lulls as far as play calling where he gets structured into certain runs and stuff? Yeah, he does. But I think that's always been like kind of his plan, is that he has certain parts of the game where he wants to limit the clock and take away time. I think that his play calling is often scrutinized more than it should be. I think his play calling is probably more scrutinized in 49ers land than any other team scrutinizes their play caller.
Absolutely, it is.
But I think that I think Kyle, I think he needs to just go out there with reckless abandon and really be aggressive play caller. And when I say that, I don't mean throw the ball around. What I mean is be exotic with your looks, with your calls, with the run game and the pass game. And now that he's got Christian McCaffrey, and McCaffrey's going to be in, more plays now, he'll have a better understanding of this offense. Kyle can move him and use him more. Coming out of the bye weeks where you're really going to see what this offense is going to look like moving forward.
It better be a lot better after that.
I mean, you got to hope if it's not, they're not going to be in the playoffs. They're not going to be that team. So they've got to figure it out. But yeah, I think the offense a lot of times is put on the play caller, when in fact lack of execution is a real thing. If you want to criticize Kyle Shanahan as a head coach, For lack of execution by his players, you definitely can. But if you're calling him on a play caller, there times he doesn't call the plays as well as he should, of course. But whenever you have drops and you have sacks and you have things like that, people holding on the ball, people turn, how can you get in a really good rhythm as a play caller? That was one of the things that the 49ers offense did really well in 2019 was they didn't have those situations, so they were able to get rhythm. Think about it, when he had the runs that were going off, boom, 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 everything started flowing together.
San Francisco still in the top 10 for plays of 10 yards or more, and they're top 6 for plays of 25 yards or more. So they're getting the big plays too, which is interesting because they aren't really necessarily helping produce the points yet too. So it's like boom, big play, then we have a offsides or a false start or a holding or it takes a sack and it nullifies it too. It seems like there's just something that's just a little off.
And it sounds a lot like last year, right?
Yeah.
Something is just missing. And what Kyle figured out last year was he started using Debo. I'm going to use Debo. I'm going to get him in these situations. It's going to help the offense. And then this year, he got his guy. I mean, it was 2019. It was Emmanuel Sanders.
Yep.
This year, it's Christian McCaffrey. What impact is Christian McCaffrey going to have on this football team? I think that's something, Jason, that we get to kind of have fun with and talk about. But before we get to Christian McCaffrey, talk about Jimmy G and the drops. Because I think this is something that's hurt the 49ers over the last couple weeks is the first drive of the game. There's that third down play, and Brandon Ayuk's running the slant, and Jimmy Garoppolo puts it on him, and he gets dropped. Later in the game, he throws one to George Kittle. I mean, he whips it. He throws it hard. Kittle misses
dime,
it.
Though.
Yeah, and
dime. I gotta say that was
now
dime.
I want to preface this so everyone understands. Jimmy Garoppolo has made mistakes in these games. But that's why it's Jimmy and the drops, because Jimmy makes bad plays, and then the team is making bad plays around him and not helping him in the situations where he does well. And those things hurt Kyle Shanahan being able to call plays and this offense being able to score touchdowns. This is something they have to figure out. Number one, Jimmy has to be the best Jimmy that he can be, and the team around him has to play at a higher level. You can't have drops with Jimmy G at quarterback.
Exactly. No, that's 100% right. Like, with Holmes or Allen or those kind of guys, if Kelsey drops one and it's 3rd and 10 or 3rd and 12, it's not the end of the world because they'll let it make it happen. But with San Francisco and Jimmy, 3rd and 12, depending on the spot on the field, becomes a let's hand it off and punt play. Whereas with those top level QBs, you never see that. You never see the coach having to be like, I don't really want. I gotta be careful here. I gotta protect the team. So yeah. So and the other thing too is, I found Kittle and Ayuk's comments after the game about the offense a little bit ironic since they both had a couple big drops in the game too. So it's kind of like, yeah, you might want to check yourself before there. Like that probably wasn't game to come out because if you guys make those catches, that probably gets us more points there.
Yeah, well, I mean, if both of them make those catches, number one, it moves the sticks.
Yeah.
Number two, that means Patrick Mahomes is not on the field for a little bit longer. Even if that's 1 minute, that's 1 minute longer that you don't have to deal with Pat Mahomes, and the defense gets to sit there. Plus, it gives you an opportunity to continue the drive, potentially turn it into a touchdown.
Yeah.
Those are important plays, and I think that we've seen lack of execution. And in this game, we saw it at all levels.
Yep.
We saw lack of execution from the line, lack of execution from running backs, wide receivers, and a quarterback. And that you can't do that. And they made mistakes with penalties as well. You can't beat a really good football team like Kansas City when you don't play to the highest of levels. And that's what I think they found in this game. And you know what? I'm hoping this is a look in the mirror type moment. Don't be Spider-Man pointing at each other.
Yeah, nope.
It's time to point like this and be like, you know what? I need to play better. And if I play better and you play better, we can all do it, right? So I think there are games like this. The one good thing is, they do have a very talented roster. They can overcome, but they've got to figure it out quick because you don't want to lose to the Rams and then come out of the bye and struggle against the Chargers and find yourself behind the 8 ball. Don't get into situations you were in last year. 4-4 in the NFC, you are right in the thick of things.
Oh yeah, you're
3-5.
You're still in it, but
it makes it more difficult.
Yeah, because everyone is 3-4 at this point, really.
It feels like it, right?
Yeah, except really for the Vikings and the Eagles. The rest of the NFC is. I still don't fighting the Giants, but
this reminds me of the 90s, right? Where it was the flip, though. The NFC was so great.
Yep.
Niners, Cowboys, Packers, everyone's fantastic. You look on the other side, the AFC had like the Bills or, the Steelers. They had like one or two teams. Everybody else
that were okay.
Yeah.
Not even really good, but
it's flipped now. The AFC is that. The NFC
a monster.
It is. And let's talk about a monster in Christian McCaffrey. McCaffrey came in. He played a lot more in this football game than I expected to play. He was electric. He was exciting. You seen him make some of those runs that were nice. And then Kyle Shanahan, to his credit, did really good getting McCaffrey and also getting Jeff Wilson Jr., but even TDP some carries early on in this football game. And it felt like he had a nice rotation going with those running backs. He had three guys I felt that he could trust in this football game. And the expanded role that McCaffrey's going to get as time goes on is really going to help this offense, because we saw it right away. What was something we talked about was the guy that was going to it was going to impact the most was George Kittle, and we found Kittle getting those matchups that the 49ers really needed him to get, because if you're focused on Debo and you're focused on Christian McCaffrey, you're probably not putting as much focus on George Kittle.
Yep, it's true. McCaffrey is like going back to his days at Stanford, you just knew he was special. Like his movement, his vision, ability to catch the ball, everything about him is just different. Like he's one of those genetic lottery guys where even among the elite athletes in the world, he jumps off the page. Like literally, he's just different. And you saw that when he actually has an offensive line to open up some holes for him. It's like in the next 2 weeks, I guarantee you he'll have a 50-yard plus touchdown run. Like it's going to happen. Like he's going to get a big enough seam and make one cut and be gone. And he changes the entire. He changes the whole team, really. Like he gives us a guy that we haven't, as much as we like Debo and Kittle. He's the best offensive player that we've had probably since Dio. Like he's just different. Like just get the ball in his hands, and on any given play, he makes one guy miss and he's gone. And we really haven't had that, particularly that elite trait skill guy, in a long time.
I think what's interesting from Christian McCaffrey is you can put a combination of players together, and it's tough to find him, right? He's got that ability to be a Marshall Faulk,
yep.
A Roger Craig, and Faulk probably the most realistic. I'm not talking about fumbles, but I'm talking about thousand guys. Right?
Yeah.
He did it. There's only a few guys that have done it.
Like 4, I think.
Yeah, and with like a guy like Raheem Mostert, we didn't want to lose Mostert because that speed is ridiculous. You don't want to lose that. But when you got McCaffrey, he's got that explosiveness in the run game, more shiftiness that I believe than Raheem Mostert.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But the element of the passing game that he can be a receiver, as like Johnny Dell said, a run-ceiver.
Yeah.
It is ridiculous the amount of things Kyle's going to be able to do, and the personnel groupings. And we don't even have Elijah Mitchell back yet. Yep. I think that's one of the things I'm optimistic about, is the offense is going to be more dynamic. The more comfortable Christian McCaffrey gets into this offense, the more exotic things Kyle can do with him to be able to create for other players on the team, not just McCaffrey. But when McCaffrey gets the ball in his hands, everyone on defense holds their breath. Sean McVay, they asked him about what he thought. He said, he's like, oh no, because he knows that once they get this together, a McCaffrey, Debo, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle offense is going to be dynamic, as long as they can execute and Jimmy Garoppolo can find the right guy.
Yep.
And those are still things that need to be determined, but they definitely have the firepower to do so.
Yeah, 100%. They absolutely do. And then if you think even more ahead, it's like next year with Trey's ability to run too.
Yeah, right.
Next year's going to be even more
11-on-11 football.
Yeah.
Trey Lance is going to freeze those outside guys. So yeah, you're going to have success in the run game this year because Christian McCaffrey's great and Kyle Juszczyk in the blocking. But next year with Trey Lance, it could be even more dynamic. And hopefully they open up the RPO game here moving forward, because I think teams are going to have to focus on McCaffrey to be able to stop him.
Yeah.
Let's talk about an area that I was very frustrated in. 49ers special teams. So last year, my big complaint was punts. I could not stand the punt return game for the 49ers. Letting the ball hit the ground was frustrating me to no end. Well, this year, it's angled kickoffs. I can't stand it. Why would you kick off
New trend.
Yeah, I don't understand it. Kick the ball out of the end zone when you're going against teams like this. I said all week, Dave Taub has a very good special teams. They're one of the best at returning. They're one of the best about not allowing you to return very far. And Isaiah Pacheco had over 230 yards, return yards coming into this game on kickoffs. He's one of the better ones in the league. Don't do it. He's got 4.3 speed. Do not do it. And what do? Angled kicks. And once again, it comes back to kicking them in the butt. Yeah, do you want Kansas City to start as far back as possible? Absolutely. You know what else I don't want them to do? Start past midfield because you had a huge kickoff return. Just stop, and I think that I'm hoping that they're going to figure this thing out. I'm not saying don't do it every week.
Once in a
saying
while.
Just don't do it when you're playing a team with a dynamic returner with a really good special teams coach.
Yeah, It makes sense in some cases. It really does, because if you get up high enough, you can get them inside the 20. But it doesn't need to be every kickoff though. Like if he can put it in the end zone and just take the touchback, that's fine too. Like, let's let our defense do what it normally does.
Yeah, and let's be honest. If Robbie Gould doesn't make 2 tackles a couple weeks ago, there's 2 touchdowns against the 49ers special teams because of it. And we've seen this, it's just not working. So locate who the returner is. Now, do I think that the Rams have a dynamic enough returner to make something happen? No. So angle kick this week, do your thing. But the next time you go against somebody that has a dynamic kicker, kick it out of the end zone, or I'm going to start screaming at the TV. Come on.
You almost did on Sunday.
Oh, come on, Brian Schneider. It just kills me. And was I not saying it from the beginning, even when they were
before
making
the game
plays,
even?
It was frustrating me because I saw how good that special teams was. Yeah. So our special teams needs to play better. We need better complementary football. It's been the defense holding it down for this team.
Yeah.
Now that the defense has had some struggles, the offense and special teams need to make it
elevate their game a little bit.
Yeah, and they played the Tony Montana song before the game. I wish it was the Tony Montana squad because we need that special teams to be better. So let's flip the script. It's 49ers versus Rams week, game 2 in 2022. It's at Levi South. We know the 49ers fans are probably going to outnumber Rams fans, especially with the Rams struggling a little bit. It'll probably be 2-1. So, Jason, let's talk about this game. What areas do you think the 49ers have to make sure they focus on to be able to beat the Rams?
I mean, obviously, they need to have something similar to what they did versus Cooper. And Stafford last game started to get the ball a little bit to Allen Robinson, so we need to be aware of that. But at the end of the day, just keep doing what we've done in 6 of the last 7 games. Really, I mean, it's not hard, and now with McCaffrey, it makes it even better. Like San Francisco, with all the injuries still and stuff, it still should be a San Francisco win.
Right, they're still healthy enough.
Yeah.
Bosa's going to be on, week 2 of him being back.
Looks a little bit slow still.
I don't think him and Tarvarius Ward are all the way healthy.
They're not
I think
100%.
they're coming in. They're trying to play to help their football team win, which I commend them for. Jimmy Ward's out there with a cast. He'll be playing too.
A weapon.
There'll be question marks on the outside. With the 49ers second corner. When we played the Rams before, we had Emmanuel Mosley, and E-Man locked it down. You didn't have to worry. That was what I kept saying. I'm not worried. So we got Deommodore Lenoir against Skoranek. I mean, that was kind of the matchup, or Deommodore Lenoir against Cooper Kupp. Now, Kupp got great yardage in the first matchup.
But nothing after the catch.
Right. And
it was a 10-yard catch and down. 10-yard catch and down. Boom.
Yeah, and 49ers, scored 24, gave up 9. I thought that was a good performance for them.
Yeah.
There are avenues to be able to run the football in the Rams, to be able to throw the football in the Rams. So I think the Niners, they know this familiar foe. Now, it doesn't mean that the Rams are going to play them the exact same way. In fact, they're going to adjust their game plan from how they played the 49ers in the first matchup. The one thing that was so clear early in that game, and now Armstead did play, Kinlaw played in that game, was they could not run the football in the 49ers. That was the difference between last game and then the NFC Championship game, where they were able to run the football consistently. Yep. But can Henderson go in there and get the run? Can they run Kupp on these fly sweeps? Do you think they have enough offense to score consistently against the 49ers?
Not yet. I don't think Stafford this year kind of reminds me of Aaron Rodgers in a little bit, in that Rodgers last couple years was always so Devontae centric that he really didn't get the ball to Lazard and now this year you see that their offense is having a hard time because he's like, where's Devontae? So, and I think Stafford has such a trust and a bond with Cup that he's not getting the ball out to everybody else. So I don't think we'll see that yet, because I don't think he feels comfortable yet with everybody else, especially in a big game.
Yeah, and they're going to be without their starting left tackle. No Boom, he's gone.
Their line's in tatters.
Yeah, so their offensive line is really going to be struggling. The 49ers definitely have to put pressure on Matthew Stafford, force him to throw up some of those. Yeah, he gives some options and opportunities for you to be able to make the play. One thing I do know is if the ball is possibly going to be intercepted by Tyshawn Gibson, we need Talanoa Hufanga around to pick it
in
off.
the vicinity.
Gibson cannot come up with the football. We found out why he's a defensive player.
He's got bad hands.
Play, that interception against the Chiefs, he drove on that football. Beautiful, very nice. Yeah, it was fantastic. He just couldn't finish it. But Hufanga made the play, which that's kind of what Hufanga does. But you're right. There's some key matchups, in this game. And, of course, you always have to locate Donald when you're on the opposite side of the ball. But he already doesn't know who Debo is. I wonder if he knows who Christian McCaffrey is, because McCaffrey went off 2 weeks ago against the Rams for over 150 yards from scrimmage. Yep. That is what they have to prepare for, all the while knowing that they have to worry about Debo and Kittle. And
NBA.
Yeah, so, Bobby Wagner's a good player. Jalen Ramsey's a good player. Aaron Donald's a good player. But do they have enough good players? Because I just watched film of Christian McCaffrey mix those guys up, and now you're putting him into
and that was with the Panthers.
So, the 49ers may have gotten a weapon that helps them secure the NFC West. And we all know that's what John Lynch said when they made it. Hey, I know this is one of those things that's the easiest thing to say, but getting to the playoffs is the easiest going through your division.
Yep.
And that rings true now, because the 49ers are definitely built to be able to win against their division foes.
Yep. I want us still to make one more trade, though.
You want one more trade?
Yeah, because I'm starting to get a little worried about Brett.
Well, Wednesday they have to make so tomorrow they have to make a decision on Jason Verrett.
Either he's out for the year, or he's back,
or he's in, and that's what I've been saying. I want to know before the trade deadline, and the trade deadline is next week. So I believe it's November 4th.
Yes,
we're gonna know exactly what's gonna go on there. And you're right, there might be maybe a trade out there for the Niners to address cornerback. I think if Verrett's not going to be back, he's the guy. Now, it could have been that they needed to push pause because they traded for McCaffrey. They didn't want to make a roster move by activating Jason Verrett. That could be number one. Number two, playing him against the Rams, even though it's turf and all that, it would mean he has a week off after that. So that way he could get healthy again. So something to monitor. But, Jason, it's time for that score prediction. 49ers versus Rams, part two.
I picked the Rams, and it went really well for us. So
you're gonna pick the Rams again?
Just off the luck factor.
Oh, sure. No. Like, here we go with the Celtic pride thing again.
Oh, Celtic pride. That's disgusting.
No, I'm saying the movie where they're the bad luck guys, so they pick against their team every week.
Can't Celtic me for anything. That's garbage. Niners 27-13.
Niners 27-13. Jason, good job. You picked the 49ers against the Rams.
I did.
Well done. I think this game is going to be pretty good. I think one of the key factors is going to be pressure. Of course, I'll make my prediction on the game preview show on Thursday.
It's the Fox main game too, right? It's a
120
KB and Olsen game,
125 matchup. So it'll be a fun one to watch. I kind of thought it was going to end up being on like Sunday Night Football or something, but when you have Packers versus Bills, that's not going to be Sunday night.
No. I think that game's going to be a massacre myself, but I think that's going to be like a 38 to like 10 game. I think Buffalo's just going to run them through.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's Aaron Rodgers.
Well, no,
it's Josh Allen. It writes itself.
It does. It'll be good for the first quarter. After that, it'll be over.
So 49ers, according to Jason, are going to win 27-13. Let us know what you think. Of course, if you want to wait and give your score prediction on the game preview show, you can do that as well. But let us know what you thought about the entire episode. Like the video, Subscribe if you haven't already. Really appreciate it. Thank you everyone for watching another episode of the Ant Hill Show. Of course, there'll be another episode next week. Even though it's the bye week, we still are going to have a game to go over, Jason. I'm looking forward to that.
Full review of the Rams.
Yeah, full review of that, and kind of a mid-season where the 49ers at. So
mid-season grades will come out at that point.
Mid-season grades. I always enjoy mid-season grades from Jason. He's like, yeah, they're either a D- or an A+.
Sliding scale.
Somewhere in there.
Sliding scale.
But we're going to slide our butts right out of here. I hope you guys all have a good day. We'll catch you on the next one. Go Niners.